Do not watch alone. Some things only strike in silence. Winter doesn't arrive all at once. It creeps in slowly. First, the air gets sharper. Then the nights grow longer. And finally, silence settles in. The kind of silence that doesn't feel empty. The kind that feels like something is listening. Ryan noticed it the moment they crossed the state line. The road ahead was narrow, cracked, and buried under layers of old snow. Tall pine trees stood on both sides like dark silhouettes, their branches tangled together overhead, blocking what little moonlight there was. Inside the SUV, the heater hummed softly. Mark sat in the passenger seat, scrolling through his phone. No signal yet, he muttered. Figures. In the back, Jason leaned forward between the seats. Relax. It's just a weekend trip. Cabin, drinks, snow. No people. Luke didn't laugh. He was staring out the window, watching the forest slide past. The trees looked wrong to him. Too still. Too close. Ryan tightened his grip on the steering wheel. They'd been driving for hours, further north than any of them had ever gone before. The town they'd left behind already felt unreal, like something imagined. A flickering sign appeared ahead through the fog. Gas, food, last stop. Ryan slowed the car. Let's top up, he said. Just in case. None of them argued. The gas station sat alone at the edge of the forest, a single dim light buzzing above rusted pumps. The building looked older than it should have been, like it had been forgotten by time. As soon as Ryan stepped out of the car, the cold hit him hard, not just cold. Heavy. It pressed against his chest, made his breath feel thicker. Inside, the station smelled like dust, oil, and something faintly metallic. Behind the counter stood an old man. He didn't greet them. He just stared. His eyes moved slowly from Ryan, to Mark, to Jason, to Luke. Then he spoke. You boys heading into the woods? His voice was dry, cracked, like it hadn't been used much. Ryan nodded. Got a place booked. Old Lodge. The old man's hand tightened around the edge of the counter. No, he said quietly. You don't. Mark chuckled. Pretty sure we do. The old man leaned forward. The forest doesn't care what you booked. Jason rolled his eyes. Come on, man. It's winter. Scaring travelers for fun. The old man ignored him. Instead, he looked straight at Ryan. Do you know what people see before they disappear out there? Ryan hesitated. No. The old man's lips trembled slightly. They see what they trust. Silence filled the station. Luke swallowed. What do you mean? He asked. The old man reached beneath the counter and pulled out an old photograph. He slid it across. It showed 4 people standing in front of trees. Only 3 faces were visible. The 4th had been scratched out. Every winter, the old man said, the forest takes a few more. It doesn't rush. It watches. It learns. Ryan felt a chill crawl up his spine. Mark scoffed. So what? There's a ghost. The old man shook his head slowly. No, he said. There's a mirage. Jason laughed. A light in the woods? I've heard that one. The old man's eyes darkened. It's not just a light, he whispered. It walks. It listens. And once it knows your voice. He paused. It never forgets it. A long silence followed. Ryan paid for the gas. As they turned to leave, the old man spoke one last time. If you see a yellow light, he said, do not follow it. It isn't showing you the way out. It's showing you the way in. Outside, the forest creaked softly. Like it approved. They drove away laughing. None of them noticed the old man watching until the fog swallowed the station whole. The road narrowed. Trees leaned closer. Ryan glanced at the clock. 10:47 p.m. The radio crackled, then turned to static. Mark frowned. That's weird. Ryan tapped the dashboard. The static deepened. Then a whisper slipped through the noise. Too faint to understand. Luke's head snapped up. Did you hear that? Hear what? Jason asked. The whisper came again. This time, closer. Ryan shut the radio off. The silence afterward felt wrong. Thick. Oppressive. Then Mark's phone buzzed. He looked down. His face drained of color. Guys, he said slowly. This can't be right. Ryan glanced over. What? Mark turned the screen. A voice memo. Recorded just seconds ago. The file name read, Follow the light. And from the dark forest ahead, a faint yellow glow flickered between the trees. Not steady. Not natural. Almost like it was breathing. Ryan slowed the car. Luke whispered, barely audible. It found us. The light didn't flicker like a bulb. It pulsed. Slow. Rhythmic. As if something on the other side of the trees was breathing. Ryan eased his foot off the accelerator. The SUV crawled forward, tires crunching softly over frozen gravel. The yellow glow stayed just ahead, always at the edge of the headlights, never fully revealing its source. Mark rolled his window down an inch. Cold air rushed in, sharp and metallic. "Smells like rust," he said. Luke shook his head. "No," he whispered. "That's blood." Jason laughed nervously. "Dude, stop." But his laugh died quickly, because the forest didn't sound right. No insects, no birds, no wind, just the low groan of trees settling, and something else beneath it. A hum, so deep Ryan felt it more than heard it. His phone buzzed again. No bars, no service, yet notifications kept appearing. Missed calls, voicemails, all from unknown numbers. Luke checked his phone too. "Ryan," he said quietly. "My mom just texted me." Ryan frowned. "You told her you'd be back Sunday." Luke's hands trembled. She wrote, "Why are you whispering?" The SUV slowed to a stop on its own. Ryan hadn't touched the brakes. Mark noticed first. "Oh, why aren't we moving?" Ryan pressed the gas. Nothing. The engine idled, calm and steady, like the car was still perfectly fine. Jason opened his door. The cold hit him so hard he gasped. The moment his boot touched the ground, the yellow light jumped. Not forward. Sideways. Deeper into the forest. Like it was excited. Jason froze. "Did you see that?" The trees shifted. Not swaying. Shifting. Their trunks twisted subtly, bark stretching like skin pulled too tight. Branches scraped against each other, producing a sound disturbingly close to knuckles cracking. Luke slammed his door shut. "We shouldn't be here," he said. "We should have listened." Mark scoffed, but his voice lacked conviction. "It's just fog and headlights messing with us." Ryan finally killed the engine. The silence afterward was immediate. Oppressive. Then the whispering began. Not words at first. Breath. Warm breath. Against Ryan's ear. He turned sharply. No one was there. "Okay," Jason said, forcing a grin. "Funny prank. Which one of you brought speakers?" No one laughed. The whisper returned. This time, clearer. "Ryan." His name slid through the air like a hand down his spine. He stepped out of the car. The cold bit through his jacket instantly. Snow crunched beneath his boots, except it wasn't snow. Ryan looked down. The ground beneath his feet was darker. Wet. Not frozen. It gave slightly when he shifted his weight. "Don't move," Luke said sharply. Ryan froze. The forest leaned in. Not literally, but it felt like it. The yellow light brightened, illuminating a narrow path between the trees. It wasn't there before. A path made of pressed-down leaves and dark soil, like something heavy had passed through repeatedly. Mark squinted. That wasn't there 5 seconds ago. Jason swallowed. "It's inviting us." The whispering grew louder. Dozens of voices now. Layered. Overlapping. Some crying. Some laughing. Some pleading. Ryan heard his own voice among them, saying things he'd never said out loud. Regrets. Thoughts. Fears. The path pulsed faintly. Luke backed away. "No," he said. "That's how it gets you." Mark snapped. "Gets you how?" Luke's eyes were glassy. "My cousin disappeared near woods like this," he said. "They found his shoes. Just his shoes. And every winter, people hear him calling." The yellow light flared. A figure appeared at the edge of it. Not fully visible. Just a silhouette. Feminine. Still. Waiting. Jason took one step forward. Ryan grabbed his arm. The moment their skin touched, both of them heard it. A scream. Not loud. Muffled. Like it was coming from underground. Jason yanked his arm free. "We're not alone," he whispered. The ground beneath the SUV groaned. Metal creaked. The tires sank slightly into the earth. Luke shouted, "It's swallowing the car." Ryan made a decision. "Grab what you can," he said. "We're moving. Together." They stepped away from the SUV. The moment they did, the yellow light drifted forward, guiding them between the trees. Behind them, the car sank silently into the ground, and no crash. No resistance. Just slow acceptance. Within seconds, it was gone. The forest erased the evidence. Mark's breathing turned ragged. "We're walking," he said. "Right? Just until we find signal." The whispering answered, "Yes." Luke shook his head violently. "It's copying us." The woman's laughter drifted through the trees. Closer now. Too close. Ryan realized something then. The light wasn't leading them deeper. It was hurting them. And the forest was closing its doors. As they followed the path, Ryan glanced back one last time. Where the road had been, there were only trees. Old, unbroken, like the road had never existed at all. And somewhere behind the bark, something scratched. The forest accepted them the moment they stepped onto the path. Ryan felt it instantly. The air grew heavier, thicker, like breathing through damp cloth. Every sound they made seemed to sink into the ground instead of echoing. Even their footsteps felt muted, swallowed before they could exist. The yellow light floated ahead of them, slow and deliberate. Not rushing, never rushing, like it knew there was nowhere else to go. Mark kept glancing over his shoulder. "I don't like this," he muttered. "I really don't like this." Jason forced a grin, but sweat ran down his temple despite the cold. "It's just woods," he said. "People hike through worse." The whispering answered him. A soft, mocking echo of his own voice drifted between the trees. "People hike through worse." Jason stopped dead. Ryan turned. "What?" Jason's mouth had gone dry. "That wasn't me," he said. "I didn't say that." The whisper repeated it again, slower this time. Stretched, like something practicing how to sound human. Luke wrapped his arms around himself. "It's learning," he whispered. "It's listening to us." The forest around them subtly changed. At first, Ryan thought it was his imagination. Then he realized the trees were no longer random. They were closer together now, straighter, almost organized. Their bark was dark and wet, glistening faintly in the yellow glow. Veins of sap ran down their trunks in thin lines, pulsing faintly like exposed arteries. Mark brushed against one accidentally. He jerked his hand back with a hiss. "Jesus." He stared at his palm. It was smeared with something sticky. Not sap. Too warm. Too red. Ryan swallowed hard. "Don't touch anything," he said. The path narrowed. Branches bent inward, their tips twitching slightly as the group passed, like fingers testing the air. Ryan felt one graze the back of his neck and flinched. It was warm, Luke whispered. "Trees shouldn't be warm." The yellow light brightened suddenly. Ahead, the path opened into a small clearing. The temperature shifted instantly. Not colder. Warmer. Unnaturally warm. Ryan felt sweat bead on his back. At the center of the clearing stood something that made his stomach twist. A campsite. Old. Abandoned. A rusted fire pit. Collapsed tents. Backpacks scattered in the dirt. Human belongings. Mark's breath caught. Someone was here. Jason crouched and picked up a shoe. It was small. A child's sneaker. Still tied. Inside it, something dark had dried. Jason dropped it immediately. "Nope," he said hoarsely. "Nope, nope, nope." Luke stared at the trees around the clearing. "They're closer here," he said. "Like they're watching." The whispering returned. Different now. More focused. Voices rose from the campsite. Not random anymore. Familiar. Ryan's chest tightened. "Ryan." His mother's voice drifted from the trees. Soft. Concerned. "Why didn't you answer your phone?" Ryan froze. "That's not real," he said out loud. "That's not real." Mark heard something else. His girlfriend's voice, laughing softly. "You always get lost," it teased. "Come on, I'm right here." Jason staggered back, clutching his head. "Make it stop," he whispered. "They're inside my head." The yellow light dipped. Lower. Closer to the ground. Like it was pointing. At the fire pit. Luke backed away. "No," he said. "Don't go near it." Ryan stepped closer despite himself. Inside the pit were bones. Charred. Broken. Not animal. Human. Some still had bits of cloth clinging to them. Ryan gagged. The whispering surged. Dozens of voices now, layered and overlapping, speaking directly into their ears. "Stay. It's warm here. You're tired." The ground beneath Ryan's feet shifted slightly. Not enough to stumble. Enough to notice. Enough to understand. Mark screamed. Something grabbed his ankle. Ryan turned just in time to see the ground beneath Mark ripple. Not split. Ripple. Like thick mud being stirred from below. Black shapes pressed upward, stretching the soil thin. Hands. Too many fingers. Too many joints. They wrapped around Mark's leg. Mark fell hard, slamming into the dirt. "Help me," he screamed. Ryan lunged forward, grabbing Mark's wrists. Jason and Luke joined him, pulling with everything they had. Mark's body slid inch by inch. The ground resisted. Gripping. Sucking. Mark's screaming turned hysterical. "I can feel them inside me," he sobbed. "They're touching my bones." The yellow light flared violently. The whispering screamed back at him. Mark's mouth filled with dirt. His eyes rolled back. The hands yanked. Hard. Mark's lower body vanished beneath the ground. Ryan felt a sickening tear. Not fabric. Flesh. Warm blood splattered across his face. Luke screamed. Jason let go. Mark's upper body was dragged down violently. His fingers clawed at the earth, leaving deep grooves. Then, silence. The ground smoothed itself. No hole. No sign. Just disturbed soil, slowly settling. Ryan fell back, gasping. His hands were red. Warm. The forest exhaled. The whispering softened. Satisfied. Jason vomited violently. Luke collapsed to his knees, sobbing. Ryan stared at the spot where Mark had been. The yellow light drifted closer. Lower. Hovering inches above the ground. As if inspecting its work. Then it changed. The light flickered. Its shape elongated, stretched. A silhouette formed within it. Feminine. Tall. Floating. Bare feet emerged beneath a white dress. They did not touch the ground. The woman's head tilted slightly. Her voice came out perfectly now. Practiced. Smooth. Why are you running? She asked softly. There's no pain if you stay. Ryan stood slowly. His legs trembled. What are you? He demanded. The woman smiled, too wide. Her eyes opened. Completely black. Hungry, she replied. Behind her, the forest leaned in. And somewhere beneath the soil, Mark screamed again. Ryan staggered back, heart hammering, as Jason's shadow blinked once, twice, then vanished into the trees. A cold gust of wind passed through, carrying whispers, hundreds of voices layered, echoing, overlapping. Some were familiar, some were impossible. He recognized Jason's panicked tone, Mark's screams, even his own voice pleading. He shook violently. Luke, where are you? He croaked. Luke was on his knees, staring at a tree trunk. His hands traced lines carved into the bark. At first, Ryan thought it was normal bark texture. Then he realized they were letters. Names. Hundreds of them. And some were theirs. Ryan, Luke whispered. His voice trembled. They're learning us. Ryan moved closer. The yellow light hovered just above the ground, pulsing softly. Every pulse sent shivers up his spine. He noticed the forest itself was shifting subtly, roots creeping, branches stretching, as if preparing to close in. Luke touched one of the names, a deep groove carved into the bark. His fingers recoiled immediately. The groove flexed, moving like a vein. The letters formed words that were not there before. Do not leave. Stay with us. Ryan's stomach churned. This is impossible, he said, voice barely audible. It's alive. Luke looked up, eyes wide, terrified. They're copying us. Faces, voices, our fear. It's learning. Before Ryan could respond, the ground beneath Luke shifted violently. He screamed as roots shot up, wrapping around his legs and torso. The bark of the tree nearby bulged as if hundreds of hands pressed against it from inside. Help me, Ryan. Luke screamed. Ryan lunged forward, grabbing Luke's arms, but the roots tightened instantly. They weren't just holding him. They were pulling, stretching, almost tasting. The yellow light flared, illuminating the clearing. The shadows on the trees flickered and contorted, forming faint human shapes. Ryan realized with horror that the forest wasn't just mimicking their bodies. It was building them, piecing them together like grotesque puppets. Luke's screaming grew frantic. His voice changed mid-sentence, morphing into Mark's and then Jason's. The forest repeated them in unison. Hundreds of distorted echoes. Ryan's stomach churned violently. He gagged. The Mirage hovered closer now, the edges of its light stretching into a pale, feminine form. Its white dress was shredded, wet with mud, streaked with dark, sticky stains. Its black eyes locked on Ryan. It smiled. Not kindly. Not amused. Hungry. It spoke, and the forest amplified its voice tenfold. Why do you run, Ryan? Stay, it's warm, it's safe. Ryan's knees buckled. He scrambled backward, nearly colliding with a tree. The bark pulsed with a heartbeat-like rhythm. Whispers filled the clearing, saying things only Ryan could hear. His deepest regrets, his unspoken fears, the moments he wished he could undo. Luke's body twisted as the roots began pulling him upward. The roots burrowed into his skin. He screamed in pure agony, a sound so primal it made Ryan's ears ring. It's inside me. Luke screamed. It's touching my bones. Make it stop. The Mirage tilted its head. Its black eyes never blinked. The yellow light flickered, and suddenly the whispers stopped. Silence. Heavy, suffocating. Then, in the sudden quiet, Ryan felt movement behind him. Something shifted just at the edge of his vision. Shadows moved independently of the trees. One shadow separated, taking a vague human shape. Mark's. It mimicked his scream. Then Jason's. Then his own voice, distorted, pleading. Ryan vomited onto the snow-covered ground. He looked at Luke again. The boy was now suspended inches above the ground. Roots protruded from his skin like veins, entwining with his own body. His face was pale, contorted in terror. Then the forest whispered again, this time in Luke's voice, repeating what Ryan had thought only he could hear. Ryan turned away, stumbling blindly through the undergrowth. The yellow light pulsed behind him, following. Every pulse synchronized with his heartbeat. Every flicker echoed his panic. Then he saw them. Faces. Hundreds of faces pressed against the bark, the ground, the trees themselves. Some smiled. Some wept. Some silently mouthed words Ryan could feel rather than hear. And then he realized some of them were Mark, Jason, and now Luke. The forest wasn't just alive. It was collecting, preserving, feeding. It wanted to know them, to copy them, to break them down and reconstruct them inside itself. Ryan stumbled, tripping over roots that seemed to writhe like snakes. He barely caught himself on a tree. The bark flexed under his hands. He screamed in pain as the surface of the tree became soft, almost like skin. Small ridges moved, forming tiny mouths that whispered, "Stay, join us. We are warm. You cannot leave." Ryan ran blindly, diving through the undergrowth. The Mirage followed, floating just above the ground. Its presence warped reality. Trees bent unnaturally. Snow melted under its light, revealing frozen hands reaching up, clawing. He paused, gasping for air, looking back. Luke was gone. The forest had swallowed him. Ryan felt a sudden hand brush his shoulder. He spun. Nothing. Just the trees. But the whispering returned, louder than before, now multiple voices speaking at once in a cacophony that made his head pound. "You cannot escape. We know your fears. We know your name. You are ours." The Mirage's form coalesced fully now. Black eyes. Wide smile. Dress soaked in shadow and mud. It tilted its head, and the clearing seemed to shrink around Ryan. "Your hope tastes sweet," it said. The ground beneath him moved. Roots like snakes tried to wrap around his legs. Ryan kicked violently, breaking free for a moment, only to fall into a pit that had appeared out of nowhere. It was lined with mud and bones, human bones, broken and blackened. The smell of iron burned his nostrils. From the pit, a whisper, "Join us, you'll never be alone." Ryan scrambled out, bleeding from cuts on his hands. He looked back. The Mirage hovered at the edge of the pit, pulsing light like a heartbeat. Ryan realized something with icy clarity. The forest was not just a forest. It was a predator. The yellow light was its lure. The whispers were its trap. The roots, the shadows, the faces, all of them were part of its body, extending to capture, feed, and preserve. His knees buckled. The cold wasn't cold anymore. It was a hunger, a gnawing in his stomach, his chest, his mind. The forest wanted everything. His body, his mind, his soul. Ryan screamed into the darkness. No sound came out. The Mirage smiled, almost imperceptibly, as the shadows around the clearing bent toward him. He had no choice. He ran, and the forest followed. Ryan stumbled through the undergrowth, each breath tearing at his lungs. The forest had transformed. Every tree was a living sentinel, pulsating with a rhythm that mimicked his own heartbeat. Shadows wriggled along the trunks, some coalescing into grotesque human forms, mouths opening silently to whisper his name. The yellow light pulsed behind him, relentless. Every pulse seemed to drag at his soul. He tried to scream, but no sound emerged. His voice was already claimed, twisted into the forest's chorus. He tripped over roots that moved like snakes, coiling into the dirt as he passed. Snow underfoot turned to sludge, thick and warm, like the earth itself had become sentient. He felt cold fingers brush his ankles, clawing, pulling. He yelped, kicking and flailing blindly. Ahead, he glimpsed a faint clearing. Relief surged, but the Mirage anticipated it. The trees bent inward, forming a funnel, their barks stretching and forming human-like faces that grinned at him. Each pulse of yellow light revealed new horrors, skeletal hands reaching from the snow, wriggling shadows of his lost friends, their eyes hollow, screaming silently. Ryan stumbled into the clearing. The pit mark had been dragged into yawn beneath him. The edges pulsed with life, black roots writhing like serpents. Faces were embedded in the earth, whispering his memories, his secrets, his fears. He vomited, gagging on the metallic scent of blood and soil. The Mirage appeared fully, hovering above the pit. Its white dress was shredded, soaked with mud and dark streaks. Its black eyes glowed, unblinking. "You survived this far," it said softly, the voice amplified by the trees. "Your hope is delicious." Ryan staggered backward. The ground beneath him bubbled, softening, pulling at his feet. Roots wrapped around his ankles and wrists. He struggled, teeth gritting. The shadows around the pit pressed forward, forming faceless human shapes, each identical to someone he had lost. Luke, Jason, Mark, faces that whispered from the soil, begging, taunting, laughing. Ryan's mind fractured. Reality slipped. He saw himself screaming from 1,000 angles simultaneously. His own shadow detached from him, twisting, mimicking his fear. He ran blindly, climbing over broken trunks, diving into the snow, dragging himself across frozen mud. Each step brought the yellow light closer. Every pulse synchronized with his own heartbeat. The forest leaned in. Branches snapped, cracking like bones. The wind carried voices, hundreds, thousands, layered. "You are ours. You cannot leave. Stay, stay, stay." Ryan saw a flicker, his mother calling him from the edge of a clearing, smiling. Safety, warmth, hope. He ran toward it. The Mirage pulsed brightly, shadows twisting violently around him. When he reached the spot, the mother figure dissolved into writhing black tendrils. The warmth was gone. Only cold, hunger, and whispers remained. The earth itself shifted under him. He fell into a depression, hands and knees scraping through wet roots. Shadows of his friends grabbed at him, faces screaming silently, teeth gnashing. He clawed forward, dragging himself through mud and human-shaped debris. Hours passed like minutes. Time had no meaning. He heard footsteps in all directions. His own, theirs, none of them. The yellow light never left. It followed, pulsed, breathed. Ryan stumbled upon a frozen river. The ice glimmered unnaturally, faces pressed inside, mouths open in silent screams. He looked down, stepping cautiously. The ice cracked beneath him, revealing black water swirling with hands reaching upward. A branch lashed at his face. He fell hard, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. Above, the Mirage hovered, eyes fixed. Its form began to stretch, elongating unnaturally, filling the clearing. Branches twisted into arms, roots into fingers. It was no longer just a figure. The forest itself had become the predator. Ryan crawled toward what he thought was a safe patch of snow. The whispers intensified, now chanting his name. He clawed through roots that dug into his skin. Blood dripped, mixing with the mud. Then he saw it. A clearing with a faint light beyond the trees. Villagers. Hope. Humanity. He ran, but the ground betrayed him. Roots shot up, catching his legs. He rolled, tumbled, and barely broke free. The villagers were screaming. Lanterns shook. Dogs barked. Light cut through the mist. Ryan crawled into it, the forest shrieking behind him. When he looked back, the trees were still, the yellow light vanished. Silence fell. The villagers pulled him into the snow. His body was broken, bleeding, frozen in some areas, burned in others. His hair was white, his eyes hollow, reflecting the dark trees behind them as if he still carried their memory. One of the elders whispered, trembling, "It knows your name. It follows hope. Never return." Ryan's lips moved, almost automatically. The words came out barely audible. "If you see the light, it already knows your name, and it's patient." He passed out. Weeks later, he remained in the village, physically alive, mentally broken. Every winter, he would wake in a cold sweat, hearing whispers of his friends, feeling roots crawling under the floorboards. He never spoke of the forest again, but the villagers swore. The yellow light sometimes flickered in the distance, and a shadow followed it silently. And sometimes, when no one was watching, Ryan whispered his name to the darkness, knowing it would answer. The Mirage waits. It has always waited. The forest continues to grow. The light continues to lure. The horror never ends. If you enjoyed this horror story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell icon for more terrifying stories.